Envoy Steve Witkoff is in Russia with hopes of reaching a peace deal in the war with Ukraine. And then Witkoff jumps over to Oman tomorrow to talk about Iran's nuclear program. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata is at the Pentagon for us, joins us now live to talk about this. Charlie, always great to see you. So President Trump's expressed a bit of frustration with President Putin over the last week or so. That's new. What can we expect from this in-person meeting in Russia today with Witkoff? And then we'll talk about Iran in a moment.
President Trump said he's peed off with Putin. He just tweeted, Russia's got to get moving. Too many people are dying. So just as it looked like they were gaining ground towards at least a temporary 30-day ceasefire, Putin kind of moved the goalposts. He made further demands. He's demanding the loosening of U.S. sanctions. At the same time, Russians have just been, we've been watching it, been bombarding Ukraine up and down the front line. And we get those reports from our colleagues in Ukraine as well. And again, he's calling into question not only Zelensky's legitimacy, but the government's legitimacy. So the question is, with Witkoff going to Russia, is he going with a stick or a carrot? Punish Putin with more further sanctions or offer to loosen some of those up to maybe get him on board? Now, you mentioned Iran. We'll get to that in a sec, but I don't think it's any coincidence that Witkoff is visiting Russia on the eve of this meeting with Iran, right? Because Russia still has considerable influence, maybe the only country that does, over Iran. And their deputy foreign minister, the Russian deputy foreign minister, said, look, we can help in negotiations.
And I want to ask you about this angle, Charlie. The U.S. will not attend in person a meeting with the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Secretary Hegseth will be joining virtually. How does that piece of the puzzle help in the overall picture?
Well, first of all, Errol, I have to go back and say that it was Secretary Austin, right? Former Defense Secretary Austin, who actually set up that contact group in the first place. So this is something formed out of the United States military. So the fact that Hegseth is even attending virtually, as far as we know, that was only decided yesterday. So it's going to be co-hosted by Britain and Germany. In fact, talks are already underway. These are regular meetings, and they're meant to bolster military support for Ukraine. But considering Putin's stance, as we discussed, defense ministers have already said he's in no mood for peace. Actually, they said this morning, peace is out of reach. In practical terms, they've already announced $23 billion in military funding. Germany has pledged to provide air defense systems and Patriot missile systems. Those are very important to Ukraine. But the Trump administration and Hegseth himself, Secretary Hegseth, has been urging European allies to take the lead. And that's what we're seeing happening. But ultimately, Ukraine is going to need U.S. support if there is no end in sight for this conflict.
So that's interesting, Charlie, considering what's happening in Europe. You've got Witkoff in Russia, then he heads to Oman to talk about Iran. And meanwhile, the U.S. Senate confirmed a new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff just overnight. So what will be his first order of business, Lieutenant General Dan Kane, now in that post?
Errol, as you just pointed out, all of the above, right? I guess we also have to remember the United States is already in a shooting war against the Houthis. Unrelenting is how Secretary Hegseth continues to describe it. Then they face that immediate threat, the possibility of military action against Iran. And they are completely tooled up in that CENTCOM region. That's where Yemen and Iran are. 2 aircraft carriers, half a dozen destroyers, cruisers, F-16s, F-35s, B-2 stealth bombers. So I imagine that's going to be the most pressing priority right now. Then, of course, decisions to be made over the U.S. military presence in Europe and what to do about Ukraine. And then we can't forget about China, because as the trade war is ratcheting up, the tensions, military tensions between the United States and China are doing so as well. So the chairman's role is kind of 2 roles. He's there to gather information from the co-combatants. So these are the leaders of CENTCOM, EUCOM, etc., in a place called the Tank, put all that information together, and then advise the defense secretary and the president as far as what assets are available. Not so much in the policy discussions, but to give them the information. So he is going to have to hit the ground running.
he'll have a nice, quiet first day, and his phone won't ring over the weekend like yours.
I know the feeling.
Great to chat with you. Thanks for the insight, Charlie. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Errol.